I'm John Leonard. I'm a lawyer in Denver, Colorado with Fairfield and Woods. I get to work with all sorts of smart people, and today we get to talk to Melanie Bartlett, who does nonprofit law. And let's start today with one segment that you do, private foundations. So I wouldn't know a private foundation if it bit me. So tell me what a private foundation is. Is that the same thing as a nonprofit and a 501c3? But let's talk about private foundations, when they're used and those types of things. So
Great, good question. Most people talk about nonprofits, right? Everyone knows what a nonprofit is. But once you start actually looking at what a nonprofit is, we have different structures, just like there's different business structures, there are different nonprofit structures, one of which is a private foundation. So a private foundation is exempt under 501c3. It is just, again, a subset of a nonprofit. Private foundations you see a lot with families. You might see a foundation connected to a corporation. These are gifting entities that families make a large gift to instead of the foundation, right?
So today, when I was driving into work, Jim Boeheim was a basketball coach for Syracuse. And he was asked if he retired, and he said, well, I'm still going to be busy with my foundation. What is that? When he says that, what does that mean and how does it work?
Exactly. So again, foundations are usually funded with a big or a larger chunk of money from a family. There are certain restrictions because you're giving into this entity. So the individual doesn't get as high of a charitable deduction versus giving to other types of entities. But the foundation can have a smaller board, and they're actually required to give out a certain amount of their money every year. So, right, like you normally see, maybe he has his children on the board, his siblings on the board, and every year they make these gifting pledges, or they make the gifting contributions to maybe entities in their community.
And when they give money away, it has to be for a charitable purpose, or it can be for anything, or how you start out with a certain amount of money with a private foundation. You have to give away a percentage each year. Can it go to anything, or are there restrictions?
There are restrictions. Generally, it has to be in furtherance of your exempt purpose. So whenever we set up a foundation, we talk about with the IRS, like what we're going to be funding. The parameters of what we call charitable giving are a little bit broader, and they're getting past just a typical grant. So years ago, we used to see just like foundation granting to the nonprofit in its region, but now we have what are called program-related investments. We can do impact investing. So it's not just the money goes out the door, but the foundation can actually make those investments and get a return on its investments. So the money does come back to the foundation, but it's still supporting its exempt purposes.
And so if I'm a family and want to establish a foundation, I can call you and you can help get its tax exempt status. You can help organize it, get a board appointed, and then periodically, I guess you check in with the private foundation and make sure that they're gifting the adequate percentages each year, and you help run that private foundation.
That's correct, right? I serve as a lot of times a general counsel for a foundation. Foundations have a lot of areas they can get into trouble with. There are taxes that a foundation can be hit with if we have a self-dealing transaction, which is a big one that people don't, you can't really do business with your foundation if you're funding it. So there's a lot of restrictions that people just don't realize. And foundations have restrictions on what they can invest their money in. If like a related person is also investing in that company, we have to watch out for that, because at the end of the day, you might actually owe tax to the IRS, though you're tax exempt as a nonprofit.
Very interesting. Well, if you have a question for Melanie, you can sure email her or call her. The contact information for her will be at the end of this video. We have other videos on our website if you would like to learn more about other areas of the law that we practice in. But if you are setting up a tax exempt private foundation, you need help. And you should call Melanie. Thanks for joining us today, Melanie.
Thank you, John.
All right.